champ, the reigning defending heavyweight champion of the world, the baddest man on the planet, one of the GOATs.
Yes.
Daniel Cormier, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I call it double champ. You know, Conor was the champ. So now, when Bruce Buffer is yelling DC in my nickname, it is now double champ. No more Daniel, because was it really a nickname? Daniel Cormier? Like, really? Like, was it really a nickname? It's like, so, no, you know, it's just DC.
So forevermore, DC,
it means
double champ.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Well, double champ, then what are we doing here? Because I thought we were having your retirement party and you were going off into the sunset, and yet we're still here, we're still talking about fights.
I wanted to fight. You know, I was going to fight in March, but my back went out on me in New York City, and I thought it was okay, and went home and kind of started living life, and as Kane was preparing to fight Francis, I went in there to spar with him. I mean, we went really light. I kicked him and missed. I felt like this jolt of pain go down my leg, and I was like, wow, something's really wrong with my back. So as soon as I was done with the round, laid on the mats at AKA, and kind of was massaging it out, and it just didn't get better. Went home. I was like, all right, man, a couple days I'll feel better. This was Monday. Tuesday, woke up, I was still kind of sore in the back. And I was like, ugh, it's not getting better. Wednesday, I wake up and I'm like, this is really bad, right? So I call my doctor. He gets me an MRI. We go get the MRI. I've got a bulging disc, right? And I did it in New York City. But it was bulging out, and I guess the disc is like it's like jelly inside of a chamber. It came out of the chamber 2.5 inches. And as it kept going, every time I did something physical, it was like squeezing this jelly out. And eventually it sat right on my sciatic nerve.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I started getting pain down my leg. And so I got like an epidural, thinking I was gonna be able to like get through it. It did nothing, man. So then Deron Wynn, who's making his UFC debut, had to carry me into my truck, throw me in the back seat, and take me into surgery. So they had to go in and I had to have surgery on my back. And that was like December 20th. Doctor told me that if I rushed it, I may be able to fight by March 3rd, but man, it was just, the recovery was just too much. So it was always gonna be another fight. I just didn't know when.
And are you happy with the decision to keep going down? More importantly, are your family, are your teammates, is everyone happy? Because it seemed like there was some pressure from the outside as well that maybe that was a good call to end it.
A lot of people are ready for me to be done, and but they understand that if I was to fight in March, I maybe would have been done, you know, and now I'm gonna fight in August, and then we'll see what happens from there. I mean, it could be just prolonged. The retirement fight, you know, my last fight just was prolonged a few months, you know, as opposed to March, now it'll be August.
Last time we saw you was in New York City, and it was a pretty good day at the office for you, and I vividly remember you walking past Media Row, big smile on your face, repeating the words, I get to do this walk again, I get to do this walk again. How significant was that win for you to solidify, you know, this new heavyweight era of your championship life? You
know, it was great because nobody had done that. You know, nobody had gotten to do the 2-belt thing twice. You know, nobody got to get both belts strapped on you more than one time. And then I'm like, wow, you know, you do this walk twice, and you just had this range of emotion. Like, wow, it still amazes me, some of the things that happens in fighting and in sport. You know, like you just truly can, because I was hurt bad. Like I was hurt bad. Obviously it led to surgery, back surgery. And I was able to go out there and fight a guy that was known as so dangerous and take no damage, use my wrestling and get a submission. You know, a guy that had won 9 out of 10 fights, and he had beaten Francis Ngannou, and he did all these things, and he was so big and scary, and I just took him down over and over again and beat him. So it was like, the 2 belts is cool, but then, you know, I got to fight on 3 weeks' notice, hurt, you know, 3 weeks' notice, and you know, I like to try to step up. You know, when the organization called on me, I did, and it was just a great night. You know, like no damage is probably the best part of it. You know, it's like I'm hurt. Like I was hurt bad going into the fight with my back, and was able to get it done.
And in the Garden as well, which I have to imagine.
That was awesome, man. That was awesome. Seeing my name on the side of Madison Square Garden. I've said that. You know, when you talk about legacy, it's not only the fights, right? So I've had the big rivalry with Jones. I've had the championships. This is my 9th UFC title fight, which is crazy to think that in 15 I had 0. You know, like my first one was in 2000. I've had 9 or 8 or 9 UFC title fights now. This will be number 9, I believe, or 8. I've headlined the MGM Grand Garden Arena, T-Mobile Arena. I've headlined in Los Angeles. I've headlined in Houston, Texas, like Boston, Championship City. And to get to headline the Garden was just, like, I just kind of leave an imprint on the sport that's going to last a lot long after I'm done.
And where does the heavyweight title sit for you? Obviously, you're so well regarded in so many areas. Light heavyweight, you're well established. But heavyweight, I think it's extra special because of the reasons you left it behind. It's a very selfless reason to change divisions.
It really does rank up there with anything I've ever done, right? Not only because of going down to 205 and fighting there to avoid the conflict with one of my friends, but also how prestigious that belt is. When you're the heavyweight champion of the world, that says something, regardless of where you are. When they say, hey, this is, I can be in there with some of the biggest basketball players, football players in the world, and when they introduce yourself, hey, I'm Daniel, and they're like, hey, and they say, Daniel's the heavyweight champion of the world. It's like initially, right away, it's like a big time, different feel for anybody. The biggest offensive linemen in the NFL are like, they take notice, like, well, this dude's heavyweight champion of the world. So if he wants to just lose his shit, he can lose his shit in here and nobody's gonna stop him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like being the heavyweight champion of the world. It's a big deal. Muhammad Ali was the heavyweight champion of the world. Joe Frazier was the heavyweight champion of the world. Mike Tyson. It's like, as a kid growing up in Louisiana, I always knew who the heavyweight champion of the world was, and now I'm that.
Yeah, you can add DC to the list of
those.
Yeah,
I'm in there. I'm all the way in there.
So we thought we'd be sitting here talking about one Brock Lesnar. That's sort of been it took all the oxygen out of the room for a very long time. Are you disappointed that's not come to be the eventuality?
Initially, obviously you get disappointed, but the UFC has done things on the backside to really make it up to me to where it don't really matter. I'll fight anybody. I always have fought anybody. I've never said no to no one. I mean, it was supposed to, they said Brock Lesnar. I said, okay, a lot of money, big time name. And if it's a fight that I'm gonna walk away on, am I ever gonna have more eyes on me? You fight Brock Lesnar and you go into the sunset, that's a big deal. But to beat Stipe Miocic again is the same thing. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. UFC's great. They took care of me, and they make it up to me. And by doing that, it doesn't matter if it's Brock or Stipe or Francis or anybody else. Whoever's in there has to get it.
So you've always said if it wasn't going to be Brock, you'd happily fight Stipe again. He's obviously been out, petitioning for the fight for a long time, and it's a very different build-up. I think it's fair to say. And the first time was quite rightly very respectful, and you were both champions, and it felt a little different to how this one's sort of trending. Does it feel that way to you?
Absolutely. It's because I've always been very vocal about that. Like, that's why when he gets, like, he's upset and he's saying stuff like, give me my rematch, and I'm like, yo, from the moment that this thing happened, I told you I would fight you. If this Brock Lesnar thing doesn't fall apart, I'll definitely fight you. It's not a problem. So why are you acting like this? And then he says, he said something like I'm stupid because I say one thing he didn't know about the Brock Lesnar thing. Dana said it in front of us at a press conference. I mean, what is he talking about? He was right there and goes, the winner's gonna fight Brock Lesnar. And I was like, oh my God, dude, big money. Right, like I did it right there. And Stipe's like, I didn't hear anything about it. I'm like, dude, shut up, you're lying. You're lying. And then I'm like, hey, go fight someone. It's been a year, I fought. Why haven't you fought? And then he hits me with the, I'm sorry, DC, I haven't been fighting, I've been fighting fires. I'm like, oh, I have no response to that. What am I supposed to say? You're a fireman, you're a hero. Like, I can't respond to that. It's like, he hit me with that one, Stipe. We're going there. Like, I've been fighting fires while you've been fighting internet stars. I'm like, okay, man, you win, Stipe.
When you look back at the first fight with Stipe, obviously you can only inform so much from past go-outs against a guy, but what do you take from that experience? Because that went about as well for you as it could on that particular night.
I thought he did okay. He was fighting pretty good. He was hitting me, but it's a fight. You're gonna get hit. Like, we're gonna hit each other. I found in that fight that. So Rogan told me, Rogan would say stuff, right? Like, he hits so hard and everything. I'm like, God dang, like, Joe, did he hit you? Right? Like, that's the only way to know that this guy hits that hard, Joe. Did he hit you? Like, has he hit you before, Joe? But Joe Rogan will get you scared. Like, this dude has the power of the... I'm like, God dang. And then he hit me, and I was like, oh, this isn't very hard. You know, I was like, this is not very hard. And I was like, okay. And I can pick up on some of his tendencies. And I was like, and I started hitting him, and I was like, and it just started looking like every other fight, right? Like initially, it's like him backing me up. He threw me down once, he hit me with a couple punches, and then I started walking him down. Like you watch the fight, there's no difference between my fight with Stipe as opposed to Volkan or anyone else, right? He's the heavyweight champion of the world. I'm walking him down, I'm jabbing him in his face, I'm hitting him. He's starting to back up, which is him accepting that, okay, this shit's going, now he's walking me down and hitting me. It's like it was just gonna be the same way. Like, it's just gonna be the same way. Like he didn't hit hard enough to stop me off of him, and once I realized that, I was able to just kind of walk him down and do my thing. And even, I get hit with a lot of these things. Like, DC, you poked him in the face. I did poke him in the face. I did. And that's one of my bad habits, because I do it when I'm boxing in the gym. I'll keep an open hand as I'm hitting guys if they're too far away. But when you're in the fight, there's no cover on a 16-ounce glove. I poked him in the eye, and I apologize. But his face wasn't cut up from that. It was cut up from me jabbing him in the face and beating him up. That's why he looked like he had been fighting for 5 rounds when we had only fought for 4 minutes. And I was faster than him. And he didn't have the power to keep me off of him. That's what I felt in the first fight. And I don't know what he's gonna do to change that.
The narrative for you a lot of the time was always you're going up against a big hitter, you're going up against a big hitter. And I remember when we spoke prior to the fight with Anthony Johnson, your response to that was, well, I'm not hitting with pillows. Like, I'm throwing as well. Do you feel like you're getting a bit more respect for the power that you have now as a result of a performance like that?
I mean, I'm not known as the biggest puncher, right? Like, when I fight, you know, like, I'm doing well when I can get a takedown, and I'm just really wearing guys out. Because eventually, you know, I'm going to continue to press, and they're going to start to fade. Knocking Stipe out was great, and it was crazy because I've hit a lot of people with that punch like that, but they just usually don't fall down and get knocked out, you know. So it was odd, you know. I've done that to a lot of guys in tight. Like I land a lot of sneaky shots in tight. I don't think I don't necessarily think it's going to be. People go, oh my God, you're such a big puncher now. I'm not known as that, but I guess he's got to respect it. I think he'll respect it more now than he may have in the first fight.
But certainly being back at heavyweight, you must feel an extra sort of lift of power in there, just from not diminishing yourself in the days and weeks leading up.
Man, I was hitting dudes so hard at 205. I was trying at least. I was like, sometimes I would try to hit him so hard, and I'm like, how in the world is this not taking an effect on these guys? Because it was very clean. Like I'm hitting them super clean, and I'm like, it's not taking an effect on him. And then all of a sudden, the moment I went back up to 245, 250, I started like getting knockdowns in practice and all kinds of other stuff, you know? And I was like, wow, there's a big difference, you know, in this 30 pounds, 25 pounds. But I was hitting dudes hard at 205, like hard as I could. But I wasn't like dropping them or knocking them down. I mean, I don't even know if I have a knockdown. One, Patrick Cummins.
Yeah.
That's the only guy I knocked down in my whole light heavyweight career, and I think I fought, I mean, I probably fought 8 times in this weight class. And I had 1 knockdown. It's crazy.
So I'm assuming there's no changes then to the game plan moving forward for a second go around. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, so I have to think the camp stays the same, you know, the training stays the same, and it's just the mentality going into the fight.
You know, I have a system in place in San Jose that I stick with. You know, like I start training. My strength coach, Chris Camacho, comes out 12 weeks before the fight. We start working. Then my boxing coaches, Rudy and Rosendo, they start coming down from Fresno, and Rosendo starts coming from Santa Rosa, like far, right? Rudy's driving 2 hours, Rosendo's driving 3 hours. And then you start seeing the guys kind of file in. You know, Thiago Beowulf comes in from either Brazil or wherever he is at, and the guy, you start seeing all the familiar faces around the gym, and you understand that it's training camp time. And we do what we do, you know? I'll sit down with Bob and Hav, and we'll come up with how we want to approach the fight. You know, last time, I said, I watched his fights, and I was like, he really does this thing. And they're like, what is it? And I showed them, and they were like, wow, he really does do this thing. And that's the thing we got him with, you know what I'm saying? So I'll go back and there's something else that he does that I'm not going to say right now because it's air before the fight. But there's something else that he does.
He's not going to see this, DC. Come on.
He's going to
see
us a
little something.
There's something else that he does that's going to show itself in the next one because he's still doing it. So it's like, it's fine. I'm excited about it.
And is this it? Is this the last ride for the double champ?
I think so. I think it's probably going to be done for me. You know, I have to look at other things, you know? Obviously, my kids, my family, my wife, spend more time at home, and just do some of the things that I do outside the octagon. Like me not fighting hasn't meant that I haven't been extremely busy. I've got some really big things going on the television side of things and other different avenues that are coming out, and it's gonna be great, you know? So I've got a lot of things going, and yeah, I think at some point, man, Father Time wins, right? Like, even when I was 36, 37, I'd look at guys across the octagon, they're 25, and I'm like, holy shit, there's a 25-year-old kid. The octagon's probably like one of the only places I would ever really be interacting with this kid, like, especially in this way, right? Like, I wouldn't be in a bar in the same place with him, or a club where this kid's hanging out with his friends. Like, I won't be there with a 25-year-old kid.
Yeah.
The only time I'm really interacting with this kid is in a build-up to a fight and in an actual fight. So, even in those moments, you realize, like, yeah, you know, it's almost like the guy that goes to the high school party with his varsity jacket. At some point, that dude's got to tuck that thing away, you know, start making memories of him and go find something else to do.
Because there was always one other fight out there that people were dangling as that might keep you going, but it seems like, from talking to you here, even you've had a mentality shift that's in the past now. That's not as important as maybe it was a few years ago, too.
Yeah, the Jones thing is always going to linger, you know, but, I mean, I don't need it. I don't need it. You know, I did a lot of the things that he said he was going to do, right? I just did it, and I did it in such an emphatic way that even if he was to go up now, it would be hard to match how I did that against who I did that against. So, yeah, man, I'm good. I don't really need that.
And a second heavyweight championship title defense, that's not a bad way to go out, right?
Hey, listen, 3 title defenses at light heavyweight, 5 title fights, 3 fights at heavyweight, 2 title defenses, the old belt, the new belt. I mean, could get any better?
That sounds pretty good.
Let me tell you something, man. For a dude that started this thing when he was about to turn 31 years old, it hasn't been a bad ride for me. So I've been unlucky, man. Blessed.
Yeah, you've done all right.
Yeah,
it's been good watching you do it. We appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck over the coming months and in the fight.
You are the man. Thank you. You look nice, too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I love how well you clean up.
Coming from you, that means something.
Well, we've come a long way, you know.
It has. There's been ups and downs along the way, but I feel like we've come out strong at the tail end.
I mean, it could only have gotten better from where we started.
Okay.
And I'm telling you right now, you're in the mansion now. That haircut is nice.
I'm going to take that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.